back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and thank you all for sticking with me through all of these episodes as I continue to detail the journey of our daughter JC and our fight through pediatric cancer. Through this last couple of seasons, I've had the great honor of bringing on other friends and family, as well as organizations, onto this podcast to share their stories and their missions and their connection to the pediatric cancer community, whether it be direct or indirect. Today, my guest is somebody that I actually had the honor of meeting a year ago at CureFest, and has turned into a great partnership with Battlecorn as we've been able to include products from their mission and their organization into our packages. And we have reached out several times to have more of those items sent so that we can continue to do that. So today it is my honor to introduce Brian from Oliver Patch Project, and I would love to have you tell your story and what your connection is to the pediatric cancer community.
Perfect. Thank you, Curtis. And I really appreciate and honored and humbled to be here with you today. This is a super exciting opportunity for us to kind of share our mission, what we're doing, and also, like you're saying, Battlecorn has been a really amazing partner with us as far as getting the word out, supporting the kids in the pediatric oncology community. Again, thank you so much for everything you do for this community. To introduce myself, I am Brian Burkhardt, Executive Director and co-founder of the Oliver Patch Project. And to give you a little bit about our story, our son Oliver was diagnosed in 2020 with leukemia. He was 9 years old at the time. He is 2 years in remission. And, I like to put that out in the front because sometimes I forget to add that to our story, as our experience is different than others. So COVID was in full blast, and it was lockdown on top of lockdown. I think our experience as an oncology family is different. That's a lot of families that go through COVID because the community within the hospital is very very art therapist, child life, and fortunately in the situation, during that time we didn't really have anything. We hadn't met another family for over a year through treatment. So people reach out to us and ask what they could do, and we really had a hard time asking for anything because that was very uncomfortable for us. In hindsight, we didn't realize we needed it, which we did. So my wife and I, when Oliver was in the hospital, we was on the sofa, and we were like, man, we need to get him up and moving. I remember when I was little, my aunt used to send me a piece of juicy fruit gum in the mail, and every day I would go and check the mail. She would mail it once a month, but I would still go. And that anticipation for getting something in the mail that was just for me was something that I always remembered. And I was like, and it was really great for him to just go and move to. It was a simple thing. So we just put something on Facebook. I remember I was sitting at my desk one day, opened my drawer, and Oliver and I collect pins and patches and all this stuff, and all these patches in the back. And I'm like, well, that's a really easy ask. Someone could just put it in an envelope with the stamp. They don't have to see a mail person. They can just drop it in a box. So we just put an ask on Facebook to our friends and family, which probably about 100 people, to send a patch in the mail. And we received over 2,000 patches in a month from around the world. And there was something about 70% of them, if not more, were from people that we didn't even know. There was something about the love of a complete stranger that really affected us deeply. And so I started to sew them on Oliver's jacket that he already had, my jacket, my wife's jacket, and my younger son Peter's jacket. And we started to wear it to the treatment. And he would walk down the hall, and people would say to him, I love your jacket. And he's like, thanks, I have leukemia, and he became empowered because all those patches were sent by people that, had a story behind them. We received a lot. Yes, we received Pokemon and superhero and all that, but we also received a lot from firefighters, veterans, police department. NASA sent us some. It was kind of crazy. It spread like wildfire. And, he may not have known who the Grateful Dead was, but he knew it was a band that someone really, really loved a long, long time ago, So there was something about that. He was physically surrounded by love. It became a suit of armor. So one day he turned to us and said, I would love to give patches to other kids like me. So that kind of was the beginning of this whole journey that we have with the Oliver Patch Project. My wife and I are originally from the arts community, so we reached out to our people and we said, hey, we have this idea. We'd like to create for lack of better words, a badass club for kids with cancer that was just for them. And would you be interested in doing a couple of designs that we can have made into patches? We got 300 designs pretty fast, again, from people all over the place. And we started to produce those. So that was the beginning of the Oliver Patch Project. So how the Oliver Patch Project works is, and let me preface, everything that we do is 100% free and no strings attached. And what I mean by no strings attached, you don't have to take a photo and send it to us. The hospital doesn't have to, send us like photo of the kid getting the box or the patch or anything like that. We would love all those, of course, but we know what a journey it is and kind of what a roller coaster ride it is. So our job is to just provide love and support, unconditional, and that is very important to us. So how it works is a child hears about our program either through a hospital partner, through you guys that would hand out a simple welcome patch, or through social media. And what they do is they get a simple welcome patch that has a QR code in the back. They go into the Warrior portal. That's a 100% free portal. They pick a jacket or tote bag. All of our jackets and totes. Here's an example jacket. These are all made for us by Penguin, the brand Penguin, which is a Perry Ellis company. And they make the jackets and totes for us, the blank jackets and totes. They go and pick out 20 of their own personality patches. So these are patches that are designed by the artist just for them. No one in the world can have them, which is also very important to us. Then we sew them on, we embroider their name or their nickname, and then we send it to a seamstress, and then we have them done. Everyone is custom made to each child, and then we send them this jacket or tote along with a box of medical milestone patches. So that's what this would be. It's a box that's provided to the families and the parents. So the first time their child goes and gets their, high fever, they get the neutropenia patch. Everything we do has QR codes to it, kind of talks about we're not medically based. It's just kind of really fun, like the polar bear and keeping cool and, and this is you're getting your polar bear patch, and it's something that can be ironed on and brings the families into this journey. Because I know for us, when I saw my son smile, and that's all I needed, man. Because it's like it sucks. Like let's try to, let's be honest about the whole thing. There's nothing great. There's nothing good about going through cancer, right? Even though you meet the most amazing people in the world, it's a club that no one wants to be in, but for us, we found that providing a little bit of love and empowerment and support, it makes all the difference going through this. So we provide this box of medical milestones to the family. The family can give them along the way, whether it's through radiation surgery, chemotherapy, whatever it may be. And then we found that 6 months in, my wife and I found like the love and support that you get kind of wanes off a bit because life goes on. For people, and I get it, but chemo's kicking in, all the vincristine, methotrexate, the steroids up and down and all over the place. I mean, it gets hard. It's harder 6 months in, 8 months in Oliver's treatment was a 2.5-year treatment. So, we knew we wanted to stay with family. So what we do is we, send a patch and a card every month for the next year. That's called our Patches of Positivity card. We also open this up to any sibling that wants to be involved as well, because we found that the siblings are all the ones really neglected and the ones that experience a lot of long-term effects of this treatment that their sibling has gone through, right? So here's an example of a card. It's a really fun card, has a great patch. All of our patches are iron-on. Scan the QR code. It goes to a video. Then there's coloring sheets on it. And that's just something that we stay for the entire year with the family and the siblings. And then they become ambassadors of the program and start to share the word with other families, So that is the core of what our pediatric oncology programming is. It's the Warrior Garment program, along with the milestone box, and then the Patches of Positivity. Okay, I'm going to give you a broad overview of the other programs just so you can kind of get a grasp of where we've progressed and where we felt there was a need also for love and support. So, Curtis, we went into the hospitals and, we'd have different events because we're a very art-centric organization, whether it was, a patch design competition or just really fun engagements with the kids. But what we found is our kids in our program would show up, but there'd be a lot of other kids that would show up that didn't have cancer, but were really sick. And that kind of, I think what's important with all this, and I think that you and I both know this is, as much as you realize the community that you're touching within the pediatric oncology community, you also realize that, you have to know what you do and stick to what you do as a nonprofit, right? But it's hard because you realize how that love and support could be really, especially what we found is our kids and siblings, mental health was a much bigger overall concern for us. What we found is across the board, right? So, but our funding was allocated to pediatric oncology. I could not take that funds and do something, but for that, and every day we watch the news, and my wife's, it's really just pretty much sad stuff, except there's always these little tidbits of like, today's National Donut Day and National Bring Your Dog to Work Day, and we were like, what makes a national day? Turns out there's a national registry of days, of which they get about 25,000 applicants a year. They accept 30 new days. And last year we were granted additional. Okay. So National Patch Day is a 365-day free initiative that anyone could send a patch and love support to anyone, whether going through cancer, any physical ailments, whether mental health challenges or hold on one second. Let me just try this off here. I'm sorry. This is binging like crazy. Okay, I'm sorry. So mental health challenges, that they can go and either someone could go and type them a message and we take it and we send it to them directly, or we send boxes out to organizations like yourself, to hospitals, to churches, youth groups, whoever. Hospital, like, we need 500 patches. And what's interesting about this is the way that it's, the funding exists is because we have sponsors on board that sponsor for the year. So we've been very lucky to build relationships with, larger organizations, whether it's the pharmaceutical industry, whether it's businesses, whether it's, we've worked with Subaru, we've worked with, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, American Cancer Society, Bristol Myers Squibb, so it's kind of great because it provides the funding that can support that, right? And so that's a program that, we've already sent over 60,000 patches of love and support out. So that is also a national program that's really being able to reach a much larger community, which our end goal is to try to help as many kids going through cancer, period. So, to get the word out, it was really great because it brings them back to the core of what we did and trying to help as many of these kids as possible. And then the last program we have is a program we have had wonderful opportunities to talk to the pharmaceutical industry within, specifically within the clinical trial space. And we originally were brought to share our story, and then we realized how there was such a disconnect between how people viewed clinical trials within our space, also with how people viewed pharmaceutical companies. And listen, there's the pros and cons to everything. But, it wasn't what I expected when I stepped into it. The people that there really, really cared and were trying to make a difference, right? And then also the disconnect between, these people in these clinical trials never got to meet any families that are going through this, never got to hear anyone's stories, never got to hear whether the good or the bad, right? Because when you're in a clinical trial, legally wise, people are just a number, which sounds crazy, but they're not allowed to know because of regulations, one person, the other, which I was blown away with. So anyway, we got involved in this world, and we were approached by an organization out of the UK that said your medical milestone program would be amazing to support clinical trials. And for us, we're like, that's great, but our funding is pediatric oncology. And I said, we can't handle clinical trials. Clinical trials across the board, there could be 10 kids or 10,000 kids, and they said, what if we help support you by giving you a donation to build it out and bringing it to the market or the pharma companies that are running these trials? And I said, okay, that's super interesting. However, we have some things that are important to us. And one of those is that this has to be for any clinical trial across the board, and it cannot be adjusted from one pharmaceutical to the next. Because if you want to talk about patient centricity, you want to talk about support and love and community, it has to be across the board, because when any child goes through a clinical trial, there's a sense of fear and uncertainty. And that's, kind of in line with our mental health, initiative with the National Patch Day. It has to unify everybody. And, it's exciting because we launched in February, and it's being run in 19 countries by, some of the Moderna and some of the big pharmas have started to implement it. So it's kind of coming back to building a much larger community of support and and love, which is really the core of what we do. So where we started from the pediatric oncology space, which is the core of what we do, is now the other avenues, and for lack of a better word, to put it in a Shark Tank perspective, it's, we try to have a diverse portfolio as far as like different revenue sources that can fund Oliver Patch Project, because as you know, it is not inexpensive to run this program and run your program. And funding is always something that is a concern, and we've never had to turn away any child, and I want that to continue. So for us, it's it works both ways, is that the funding that's being provided by these are not only funding these programs, but helping funding our core program, which is our baby. So I hope that gives you a broad overview. I know I tend to ramble, but I think that kind of gives you like where we started and kind of where we're at.
Yeah, no, absolutely it does. And don't worry, I'm a rambler too, and I've been many of times. But no, it's really kind of cool to see how so many organizations like us, it's like the core mission really aligns with each other. Like we're right on the same path, and the reason that we started is because when JC was in the hospital, when she would get mail, when she would get packages, that would take her away from what she was going through. That would distract her, and it would make her smile and happy. And when we came home, we said, we've got to do this too. We've got to give back. We've got to find a way. And these kids, as well as I do, these kids, they care more about other people than they do about themselves. They just want other people to smile, especially other kids, because they know they didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for this fight, for this battle and JC was diagnosed during COVID as well, January of 2020. The whole world shut down, and you're not in school. You're not with your friends. You're doing everything over Zoom. School through Zoom, which she hated. And being able to give back to, a community that is really underseen. We're in the background. And the problem is, we've been told so many times that it's such a rare occurrence. It's not a very prevalent disease within the pediatric community. And that the problem is that that's the complete opposite of what it is. And so programs, I think, like ours and yours and other organizations that do this, I think it provides such an amazing thing. And, there are plenty that go out there and they will fund a lot of different things, and they will send money, and they're good for grants and stuff. I really do believe that this provides such another level of support that doesn't get as much recognition. And again, we don't do it for the recognition, right? For the same reasons. I've never asked for photos or anything like that, but when families do send those, that's the greatest thanks that we can ever get.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
100%.
We get the pictures, the videos, and I've even had some of the teenagers, they'll email us and tell us, I had one a couple of months ago. I just came home, had a really rough day. Your package was on the doorstep. It absolutely brightened my day and made my day. And that, to us, that's more than we can ever ask for, and that's the payment we want. We don't need awards and accolades, and I don't need trophies on the wall, none of that stuff.
It's not about us, right?
Right.
It's really not about us. It's about the kids. And just to touch on what you're saying as far as like, the importance of love and support, and this has been my discussion that I've had when I've had an opportunity to talk in front of these multiple pharmaceutical groups and at these summits, right? Is, they talk about the keywords, and I say this because I think across the board from the industry, the medical industry field, okay, they talk about patient centricity and the patient experience and, and the experience that the family goes through, and like that love, they talk about that love and support. But unfortunately, they try to put it then, they're like, well, the analytics, right? The scientific analytics, well, what is that proven and what is that? And so they run it, and it's how important, and it's at the forefront, but they try, I'm like, tell me how you put analytics on love and support. You're telling me that's super essential, but how do you put analytics on that? I said, so you guys need to decide what's important to you. And what, I said, you say, for us, we would fit into like the retention support. Like I said, you say retention, we say support. I said, when you have pediatric family, I mean, like they need the fundamental things to they need the housing alliance, funding. They need the gas cards. They need all this stuff. But the kids need what we provide them. Scientifically proven that we're helping the trials, the medication. We're giving these opportunities for these things to actually work when the situation is there, right? When you have a negative and down attitude to all this stuff, what we're doing, and I'm 100% on your side. Like, what we're doing is 100% essential. What we do is one component, right? People that fund for research, people that fund for and I know that's a huge component of what you do, but it's also kind of funny is that someone from the very beginning says, like, you got to know what you do and do it, right? I think as you get in this world, and Curtis, I'm sure you can talk a little bit more on this. It's, there's so many places that you could do, like things that you could do, right? And that was the hardest thing is adjusting that to realizing, like, okay, well, I can't do all of it. I can't, and being okay with that and being at peace with that. It was hard for me at first, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I still, at this point, still struggle with that a lot, because I know that at the care package side of it, that's always the core, and it will always be the core of our mission 100%. And a few years ago, when we started getting into donating to research and donating to that type of thing and raising money for that, and then you get out there and you think, well, we need to be doing this as well, and this as well, and this as well. And it's true, you're only one person, and that's a negative and a positive, because the negative side of that says that you can't do it all. You have to understand that you have to either relinquish or you have to conjoin with other organizations or families or people. But the other side of that is, in this fight, in this battle, you're also told you're only one person. How much effort or how much impact can you make? And I look back and I can say, let me show you a video. Let me show you a photo. Let me show you the checks that we've written to these research organizations. Because to me, it's not about the fact that we did it. What we had to do, and we raised that money so that we could make an impact, or we sent a care package that cost this amount. It made a massive impact on that kid, that they were able to then have a good day or have a good month, or they're going right in. How many times I've gotten messages saying, we were just going into treatment, the package showed up, we're taking it with us. It's,
or we just got home, right? We just got home and we saw it on right in front of our door, right? I mean, I have that all the time.
Yeah, and it's huge, and it's amazing those types of things, what they can make you feel and how they can make you the impact on your own self. And that's what you want people to understand and see, is that this isn't about the recognition, it's not about the accolades, it's not about any of that. It's that we feel like we need to make an impact in this world, and when you're forced into this. So for all the people that ask you or say, we don't know how you do it, because we weren't given a choice. We were not given a choice in this life. And we were, for us, we lost our daughter. She's not here anymore with us. And so we do this to fulfill her legacy and to fulfill everything we know she would have been and would have done. And with you guys, that was Oliver's joy, right? To give back to other people. He wanted you to help, and now you guys do it, and you do so many things. And so we do it the same mission with all these different goals and with these different ideas, that we come together and we make a difference. And it doesn't matter how many people tell you you're not strong enough, or you're not enough because you're one person, or you're not making enough of an impact, or what is that really going to do? Well, you have to sit down and listen to us and understand what we're doing. We didn't do this because we woke up one day and decided we want to be part of this community, because I don't think there's anybody on the planet that wakes up one day and thinks they want to be part of this community. You know what I mean? But I will tell you this, that once you're a part of it, as far as I'm concerned, we will fight to the death and go scorched earth for anybody in this family, in this community, because it's important that we end what we know that has taken so much away from us and so many other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always say, when people ask, like, did you ever think that you would be here? And I'm like, I'm nowhere. But what I envision being, I'm not even anywhere near, So I think that, and also kind of like, we're small, but we're mighty, right? The only limitation that you have, like, my number one goal is to get our program to help as many kids as, like, that's my number one goal. And what does that look like in the day in, day out? Is making sure you have the funding there. If you have the funding, you could grow, right? So for us, we were very careful in making sure, one, it's something that could be scalable, right? It's something that could be sustainable. It's something, like, for me, it was like letting go, like, of being a control freak, right? And, like, making, like, kind of being able like, hey man, it's okay to accept help, right? It's okay. You're only as good as your team. But like these are things that, okay, yeah, that, but it's hard. Like, it's a hard thing to kind of realize to accept that help and to put it out there. But, my goal is to get the funding in to make as big of an impact and of love and support that I can with as many families as we can. Like, that's it.
Yeah, no, and 100% you have to, in this space, you would think that kids and funding for kids or fighting for kids, you would think it would be easy. It is almost exact opposite. It's hard to get donations and funding for anything related to kids, and it's because, especially when it comes to kids that are sick, it's because the reality of it is it is easy for other people that are not in this community to turn around and walk away. It's easy for them not to listen. Not that they don't care, but it's easy to walk away from it and say, I don't support it. And there's almost, in the back of my mind, I've always tried to justify it by saying, well, if they support it, then they have to kind of keep up with it, and then they have to learn about it. And by not, they don't have to worry about it. And the reality of it is we were not in this community until the absolute day that we were. Until January 30th, 2020, I didn't even, of course you know what pediatric cancer is, right? We've all seen the commercials growing up as kids and everything and thinking that's horrible. I don't even know what you would do in that situation, whatever, but I don't think we paid a lot of mind to it. And then when you're in that position, you're like, who's going to help me? Who's going to help us do this? Because of being diagnosed at, 4 a.m. in a Milwaukee hospital and thinking, I have no support. We have nobody. We don't know anybody in this community. And you're right, too. As your treatment goes on, or in the unfortunate circumstance that your child passes away, that support goes away. That support dwindles really quickly. And people that you thought would be in your corner are often not. And unfortunately, a lot of times that is blood family that tends to kind of back off, or they tend to kind of stay away, at least for us anyway. And you'll have a real few genuine people that will stay in your corner. But I think that either when diagnosis or when treatment is over, or you're in remission, or when the child passes away, is when the support really needs to step up.
100%. 100%.
Because I think that's when the fight really begins on both sides. And unfortunately, it's the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. And you're totally right. And I think that, there's always, I think that there's been times, listen, I think everyone has gotten our first exposure to pediatric, cancer kids with, the mailer that comes in with the bald kid. And, and I think that we all have donated to that. But I think a lot of people, they donate to it so they don't have to look at it for the rest of the year. Like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, but until you really walk through that, like, how could you possibly understand, right? So I also think like I have an issue too, a little bit with pediatric cancer awareness. I'm like, what about today? What about tomorrow? What about tomorrow? Like, what about, and my son like goes to school the first day of October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's donate $3 to wear you wear a pink shirt and you bring in $3. Like, it's a fundraiser. Like, why is pediatric awareness, why is that not even acknowledged? Like, these are kids. Like, so I think that, and there's different people. I think there's different people. Like, there's people out there with, like the Toms of this world, with the megaphones and the out there and, like on the streets protesting the sign. I love these folks. That's not me, right? So, and you're an advocate. You express your voice. You're a level up from me, hands down, but your experience was different than mine, right? So, but we all have a responsibility I want to position myself in a place that I can actually talk and people are going to listen, right? So for me, the more accomplishments that we can get as an organization, the more people we can meet and connect with, the more people that can actually hear and experience. Like, I'll be honest with you, Curtis, like, I hate going and talking about our story with Oliver. I hate it. Like, I don't like, there's something in me that I just want to run as far away from it as possible. It's not comfortable. Like, it's not, I don't like to relive it. Like, I don't like, and but it's important, right? It's important to do it. And it's important to like, not only I'm like, okay, but this is our story. Like, what about these other people? We have so many kids, DMG, DIPG. I mean, we have kids that we've lost before they've even gotten their jackets, and we get them out as soon as possible. Like, that's the reality. Like, I hear the stories. I hear the, families that have lost their child. And I had a family at CureFest recently, they came up to us and said, our child passed away in, 6 months ago, and we're getting the cards every month. And I'm like, oh my God, would you like us to stop? Like we didn't know, like, cause some parents don't want to talk about some parents, and they're like, no. And they started crying. No, it reminds us how much she's loved. And I'm like, would you like to keep getting? Like, yes. So there's that, right? So, I mean, I think experiencing, I never realized, like, because of our experience, Oliver is still here, right? So then there's something that you process as, especially going with CureFest and being involved in the Brainstorm Summit and with Lisa Ward and those guys, I mean, the first time I went, I was talking to pretty much, families were 100% terminal, right? DIPG and, and talking about my program, they're like, our child would have loved that, or like, I was never prepared for that. That wasn't, my experience. And it was, it's really hard to navigate, so it's our job to help empower them and support them and love them as much as we can. It's also our job to speak up, right? And to try to make people aware, however that is, whether it's out there with your bullhorn and protesting, or whether it's out there like trying to, to go out there and trying to meet with the right people that potentially can make the difference, right? I mean, so I think there's a place for all of us, right? I mean, I think that's what's important. Community. I mean, it's not a nonprofit battle. Like, and I think you and I can have a whole nother conversation about that. It's like, when you said, like, when you and I like first talked and like, you expressed like, hey, do you want to, we would love for you to kind of like work with us and like, and put the word out. Like, we love what you're doing. You have your boots on the ground. Like, I don't have the same relationships with my families as you do, and that's partially because that's, for us, that's like, it's hard for me to, like, your experience, like, you are the one like in the trenches with these families, right? And the fact that you can, work with us and collaborate. I mean, that partnership is like huge. And that, I wish that, and I hope that's with every number, right? Because it's not like, we're not tapping into, like, I'm not going to take your money. Like, I think that's what happens is people like afraid of, like, there's only a limited amount of money. I'm like, then you're looking in the wrong places. Or there is ways of doing it. And I wish there was like a formula, because people ask like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, if you look at my bank account today, I don't know, but we're going to keep doing it because we're not going to stop, right? We're not going to stop.
Yeah, no, there's been times, and we've definitely had to scale things back a little bit, and as the, you ride the wave of influx of donations and things like that, and sometimes we do really well, and sometimes we really struggle, and even to the point where this usually at CureFest, usually we sponsor. We could not do that this year because it just wasn't financially a possibility for us. But I know that for me, on to go back to one point, it was definitely, this was the first year being in DC with all these families. First of all, CureFest seemed about 3 times as big as it did a couple of years ago. And it was humbling for me because people kept coming up to me and saying that they had recognized us. They recognized me from either the podcast or because we had sent a package to their family. And, a few of them, yes, they said their children had passed away, but they remembered us. They remembered that pink unicorn. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, that means a lot. Yes,
100%.
It's terrible that, we're kind of connected in that way, but it's to know that we made that much of an impact, that you made an effort to come and say something, and it means the world, because it means that we're doing the right thing. We're not in a space where we want to be. We don't want to be doing this. We hope that one day we can all just go out of business because the disease is gone. But right now, we're doing the best we can with what we have, and it is a very humbling experience. And yeah, that, and to go, and the other side of it is that funding is difficult to get, and And I love partnering with organizations, and I'm not at all ever concerned that the money's going to go one way or the other. I always look at it like, the more of us together, the bigger the impact that we can make, the terminal list and others. And it's a shame. I just had one a few weeks ago that I went through and I saw the name, and it was a family that we follow on TikTok, and their child had passed away from DIPG just days before I had seen the request. And I had to reach out and say, I am so sorry that we didn't get this out in time. And it's a real thing. These things happen, and you question in your mind, again, if we sent this out and the child passes and it shows up, is that going to be a bad thing that they're going to see this, or is it a good thing? And I honestly think that it more lies on the good side of it, because they do realize how much these children are loved and how much they're cared about, because they impact so many people in the world. And to this day, I'll always tell you that I've gotten messages and emails, Facebook, reach, all that kind of stuff from people that say JC touched their lives. I have no idea who they are. I've never met them in my life, but they saw her story, read her story. They've seen us on the news, whatever. And it's an impact. It makes what they can do and smile every day for what they're going through, and the amount of stuff us as adults gripe about every single day, and the things that we've made choices to make. They just want to be kids. They're just innocent kids, and they don't care about all of that stuff. And, I think that we could take a lot of that genuine, true heart that they have and inject it in this world right now, and it would make such an impact, such a difference.
I agree with you 100%, and, I think our experience of do we, because we stay with them for a year, it's like, do we stop sending cards? Do we send cards, And we realize we've tried both. In the beginning, we stopped because we were afraid, of upsetting them, by them getting them. But what we realize, and when we've got an opportunity to talk to parents who were able to communicate about their loss, everyone goes through a different, but when we were able to talk to families, they said, we realized that let's do what we do, right? Because people know and feel it's based out of love, right? And love never hurt anybody, right? I think for us, we just proceed, and we only had one family say, hey, could you stop sending cards? One family. And we're like, absolutely, no problem. Thank you. But that's one family out of thousands, and not all of them, or not a large, many of them, a lot of them are not here still, right? We just keep going. Because I think if you start to think about it too much, you start to drive yourself crazy. I mean, you got to we do what you do, and hopefully people will see that intent.
Yep. I think that's the best thing that you can do, is you can put yourself out there, and you let it speak for yourself. You let what you've done speak for itself. I don't like necessarily public speaking or getting out there in front of crowds or anything like that. However, it has become a necessity in the reality of in this world to do that. And I've kind of overcome all that. I realize that if you're speaking with what you're passionate about and what means the most, then, looking out in the crowd it doesn't bother me anymore.
No, you're speaking from the heart.
Right.
It's you, right?
So,
it's true.
And so I enjoy doing that now, and I wish I had more opportunities to do that, to be honest with you. And I didn't. And last year when we lost Tattoo Tom, right? And I had met somebody else through Instagram, reached out, and then she had forwarded me his TED Talk that he had done. And if you've never seen it, it is absolutely incredible, because what he did is he did a bait and switch, but it was an amazing trick that what he did, because he had a whole group of people come in, and he labeled it with every single controversial topic of what was going to be talked about. And then he said, but I fooled you. Now we're going to talk about pediatric cancer. Now let's have a conversation. It's amazing to have that kind of connection with people, and that kind of, just that ability. And I wish I had a little bit of that, and one day be able to reach that level to make that kind of impact, because that was a huge loss to our community, a huge voice, and finding that ability is going to be something that's going to be hard. But hopefully one day, we'll be able to get to that, because that's what we need when it comes to those steps in DC and those steps in every single state on those Capitol hills. When you go in there and speak to politicians, and I spoke to one with another family of ours. We spoke to a Texas politician who knew nothing about why we were there, had no idea what September was, had no idea what the Childhood Cancer Caucus was. It was created by Congressman McCall from Texas, and you represent Texas and had no idea. It is amazing the amount of people that are writing the laws or enacting the laws, all of this type of stuff, that have no idea that we're even a community. And that's something that has to change, and that's the biggest difference. What we do on a level here of care packages or patches and jackets and that type of support is so incredible. And almost more important, I think, than anything else, because it's that level of love and support that takes away from what you're going through, but it also shows what an amazing warrior you are. But the support coming from the side of the people that are supposed to be supporting the community, all ages, from 0 to 100, and they don't. They turn their backs on children, and it's a shame, because politics within this community is not RD. It's not left or right. It's not any of that. It's the most nonpartisan issue on this planet, because it's kids. And without our kids, without this future, there isn't a future. There's nobody to vote you back in. There's nobody to vote you out. There's nobody to protest you, or there's nobody to love you. And there's nobody that's going to become the future doctors and pilots and judges and police officers. You know, JC was going to be a NICU nurse. That was what she wanted to be. And now we've lost 70, 80 years of life with her and what she could create. And so many other kids are going to lose that too, unless we find a way to make people listen to what we're saying.
I mean, you're right. And I think it's our job, I think it's all of our job to understand that and best to, have our, know what we do and be a part of that. I mean, you have, people like Sylvia from Mystic Force Foundation. I mean, she is out there. She is an amazing woman. I've gotten to know her, like, just fantastic. She is an advocate on, I mean, you have, the people like, Lisa Ward and people that are out there making differences and getting involved, changing, working on legislation. And that's like, that's huge. So I think, like you're saying, we all, listen, to be honest with you, like, with the kids, I think people don't look at kids because it's hard to look, right? And the people that really look at it and are telling people to look at it are people that have to go through it, right? And I always tell people, and we've always adopted this, we were never a victim of cancer. Like, we chose not to be that. Like, when we were told, Trisha and I, like, yeah, we cried, and then we're like, okay, it's showtime. Like, put on your big boy pants and let's do it, because there's nothing we can do to change this. The only thing that we can do is how we approach it and how we deal, right? So for us, when I've gotten to speak with families like, why is this happening to me and my child, and how come, and I'm like, I said, listen, you have to, like, work through that, because you have to be good for your kids. I said, put it in the room and open that door later to process, or maybe not open it at all, or whatever you want to do. But right now, you got to do what you got to do, And I think that, as a parent going through that, you understand it's not diminishing the hardships of it. It's just, that's reality. Like, none of us want to go through this. We have to, right? So, for us, I think what we both do is we provide that empowerment and that support that, is that whether it's an opportunity for kids to escape for a moment, to smile, to be happy, to, like, step away. I mean, that is huge. That is huge. And I think what we're doing is essential.
No, I agree with you. And I've often, it's that humbling side of things, and, not almost feeling like you're not doing enough, but at the same time, in the back of your mind you are. But I've never been one to, to put myself on a soapbox or anything like that. I almost want to, like, stick in the background, and, we again are also we're a small organization, but I've been told many times that I can't talk like that. I have to talk like we're a huge organization, like we're massive, and we're, and it's difficult, because I don't see that. I see ourselves as small, but I know that we make a huge impact, and I know we can.
That's the whole thing. You might be a small organization, but making a huge impact. Right? I always say small, but mighty.
Yeah, 100%. And
that's kind of where it's at.
And I kind of like that, because it's it's a lot less overhead, a lot less things to deal with, and we can just I can run it out of the basement, and then I could be okay with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, it's something that we never thought it would get this big, that it would get to the point where we were sending as much out, or we would be doing partnerships or working with other organizations or anything like that. I don't think we ever thought it would get that way. For us in the beginning, we were scouring the internet looking for people that we could send things to, and then
I know, and you know that, and it's everyone thinks that they're just going to come out of the woodwork, but that is, so that becomes about your relationships, right? And your hospitals and your advocates, your advocates in this space, and your families, right? Your families. I mean, they become, so, that's why for us, like, have to have partnerships and relationships like with specifically with you guys has been amazing. So many of our kids come from you, like a lot of our kids, and they tell other families, right? So it's kind of that capillary effect, like you were saying with JC, and and the 70 years of an impact, right? 80 years of an impact, right? I mean, what we're doing is we're just, I always tell people, like, we'll have fruit tomorrow from the seeds we plant today, right? And that's the whole thing, is it's kind of, whether I can help 1 or 5,000 kids. I mean, I don't want to have to help 5,000 kids, but it is what we have to do. When you tell me that you jumped up to over 3, you're going to do 300 this year. I mean, that's like tremendous. As much as I'm sorry that you have to do that, I'm super excited that you can do it.
Yeah.
That you can do that. I mean, that's 300 kids that you made a huge impact on, right? And, so I'm super excited that you're, that you have to do that much work. No offense, but you know what I'm saying? Because what are you doing? The impact you're making is so needed and essential, so needed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I think that, I know that it's a necessary thing. I know from seeing it from our own point of view, and from, like I said, when packages would come to the hospital, or when letters would come to the house and things like that, and what it would do to brighten her day, and knew we had to do that. But yeah, I didn't ever think that it would get to this level, to this point where we would be sending these things out, and to the point where now my wife has to say, you're only doing this many a day, because otherwise I'll sit down here and I'll just crank these things out. And a month ago I had 40 boxes down here that we had to take to the post office and deliver to the back door, because they weren't going in through the front. And that was $800 to send those out. And thankfully, we've been able to secure funding and do fundraisers and stuff like that to allow us to continue doing that. Because like I said, at some points you have to take a break. Sometimes you can do a little bit more. And it's tough to have that, consistency coming in that you can do that. But it continues, and it will continue. And hopefully one day we won't have to worry about this as much. But it's right now, we're definitely not at a level that anything is truly changing in the way that it's going to slow down what we're doing. If anything, things are going to continue to pick up. And that's just the reality of the world that we live in. I say that, we had, when Jason, in 2020, right? In 2020, the national number you saw was 43 kids a day. Now it's 47. So to be told over and over that it's getting better, I think that the math is not adding up in that situation. So we are going to just sit here and all be essential in this fight in a way that it's different than just research in that way. But research is super important. It's just, how much can you do as one person or one organization? We need everybody to jump on board, and people that are not directly affected by this to be part of it. But, our connection to this is, I say it all the time, there's 1 million books written about how to raise your kids. And I would say about almost all of them are written by people that don't have kids. We are part of these organizations because we are directly affected and connected to this disease, and we understand it, which is why we can be essential and effective, because we know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing, but we need other people to come in that can sit down and listen to what we're saying and allow us to share with you how incredible it can be to give back to these kids and give back to these communities.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, man, it's really great having an opportunity to talk to you, and again, we truly appreciate your support and your partnership in getting the word out, and you and many other organizations are how we're able to provide this love and support, right? I mean, and that's the most essential thing. So we admire what you guys do. We see the impact of what you guys do, and it's exciting for us to see. It's exciting to see us all grow together, right? I mean, that's kind of the you know, and for us, we're in the same house, right? We're doing the same thing. I mean, we're providing that love and support, and that is essential. And I will fight tooth and nail and let people know how important it is.
And that's all we can do is we can continue to be loud and continue to be annoying, because that's what I've said, that my annoyance level when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's going to be really high. So you're better off just listening to what we got to say. It's important. It really is. I mean, it's important work, and it's exciting to be able to partner. It's exciting to be able to include everything in what we're doing, and also include what you guys are doing, and sharing that word out there and growing together, because the more people we have in this army, the stronger we're going to be, and the bigger the impact we're going to make. And at the end of the day, so many kids are going to be able to say, I knew who they were. They helped me. They were there for me. And in the reality, when a lot of people don't understand how to talk, they don't understand how to be close to pediatric cancer or understand it. And it's our opportunity to make these children feel and realize just how incredibly important and strong that they truly are.
100%.
So I enjoy that incredible. It's getting those messages, getting those notes, and seeing those kids and the smiles. It's so important, and I love doing it. So, but this and I'll probably be emailing you soon, because we're rolling through these patches, man. I've got them up here. We're putting them out there, so we'll be emailing again. I think this will be third, so it'll be, we've already had 3 boxes that we have.
You just let me know. We'll keep them coming.
I love it. This is the type of partnership that is the most important to me, and I think it's been so incredible. And it's chance meetings, right? It's, with CureFest, you meet so many incredible people. Last year with us, meeting you and creating this, but also with Onco Heroes, and that's where our money went for our gala this year, which was incredible for us to be a part of that and really truly feel the effects of what we're doing. So I enjoy it. This is a great thing. I love being able to have these opportunities. So I appreciate what you guys are doing so much.
Thank you, and we feel the same with you. So it's one of those few things in life that's mutual.
Right. It goes far beyond partnerships. It becomes friendships, and that's what makes it so much more impactful. But this has been an amazing conversation, and if anybody would like to check them out, it is Oliver Patch Project. You can find out all the information about their story, about ways to donate, ways to help. Send a patch to a friend. There's some incredible patches. I got to see a lot of them at CureFest this year, so there's a lot of really cool different patches out there, and you can find out more about how you can help and get involved.
Thanks, brother.
All right. If we got exit music.
Oh, sorry about that. That's my phone.
That's all right. All right. Well, I will let you go, but I want to thank you so much for being on here with me today. And again, everybody, you can check them out at oliverpatchproject.org. And Brian, thank you so much for being with me.
Perfect. Thank you, Curtis, for being here. I'm honored and humbled to be here. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Everybody else, we will see you all next week.